powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, this is Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Delaware Valley Acura with new inventory arriving daily. Find the new award-winning Acura at your local Delaware Valley Acura dealer and reserve yours today. Mike Gill and Geoff Mosher, who is in Miami, as the Eagles are getting ready to have joint practices with the Dolphins. And he joins us now for another Inside the Birds look of the Birds on Football at 4. Geoff Mosher, what's up, man?
Mike, how are you today?
Do you have any issues with the getting in and out of the airport?
No, in fact, I think that's going to have to be a go-to route for me in the future.
Right? It's in and out there, buddy.
First time I've flown out of AC.
That's the first time you've used Atlantic City International?
Ever.
Wow. How about that? Well, yes, he texted me last night and said, anything I need to know. I said, you're going to be in and out. There's nobody there. I mean, there's people there, but it's just not a busy airport, so, like, you're just kind of like the only flight going.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue is they have limited flights compared to, like,
yes.
PL, but, I mean, if you can find one that
well, anytime you're going to Florida, that's the place to go.
Yeah, now I wanted to fly into West Palm Beach. That's where I am right now, where my mother lives, but they actually only offer seasonal flights. So I had to fly into Fort Lauderdale.
I know. We have a house in Deerfield, which is between the Fort Lauderdale airport and the West Palm airport. So we can only fly to West Palm certain times of the year. But it's a nice option for you, buddy.
First world problems, Mike. You know, it's rough.
All right, give me these joint practices tomorrow and Thursday. They'll be off Friday. They play the game on Saturday. Give me your overview of anything that you take away from Sunday.
From the past game or the
Sunday
next
game? Yes.
Oh, the game, yeah. So not a whole lot takeaway. You know, I mean, the fact that Kaiser White and TJ Edwards on defense did not play, right, and we say the starters didn't play, sort of further cements that the Eagles plan to start Kaiser White and TJ Edwards. And while Nakobe Dean has played well and looked good and in his opportunities, and still waiting on the intel from the last game on exactly how well he played. But, I think a lot of people, myself included, be the first one to raise my hand and say TJ Edwards' days of starting were over when Nakobe Dean was drafted, especially after the Kaiser White signing. But TJ's had a great camp. I think we've talked about it with you. People, who have seen the tape, seen practices, have talked about how great he's been. So, I'm not saying that he's going to be the starter all year long. Certainly, Nakobe Dean's talents may eventually manifest to the point where they can't keep him off the field or they put him on certain ways. But if that job was TJ's to lose, he has not lost it.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Dean play, not a lot, but he did play, and you mentioned those two guys didn't. So you wonder, like, how many linebackers and how much playing time is carved out for linebackers on this team? I guess that is something we don't know yet because we don't really know what John Gannon's front's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the past we used to talk about linebackers as you would have three linebackers, in case you want to be in base, but two nickel linebackers basically.
Do they count Reddick as a linebacker?
They do, but I think what they keep now is different because of the Sam linebacker role. So a guy like Sean Bradley, you could say, hey, he's like the fourth stacked linebacker behind Davion Taylor, Kaiser White, and TJ Edwards, and Nakobe Dean. So, like, say he's the fifth, right? But now you say he may not make the team because they're also got Hassan Reddick and maybe Kyron Johnson and Patrick Johnson. So a guy like Sean Bradley, who's been able to make the team as a last linebacker / special teamer, maybe on the outside looking in at this point.
Yeah, like when Reddick does individuals, does he go to the linebacker room? Does he go to the defensive end room?
Yes and yes. So they have different coaches now. Nick Rallis coached linebackers last year. This year he's coaching inside linebackers or stacked linebackers. Tracy Rocker coached defensive line last year. This year he's coaching interior defensive line. And that exterior / outside, whether you want to call it pass rusher, overhang, they've got Jeremiah Washburn coaching them for the first time this year. He was not doing that last year. So they definitely have a coaching staff that has responsibilities of a team that might run a 3-4 or just a multiple front.
Geoff, last week they had Huntley got a bulk of the carries. This week they line up and just went right down the field. They ran the ball. Boston Scott was the guy there. Gainwell got some touches there. So did that tell you that the Eagles feel pretty comfortable with Boston Scott and Gainwell as the primary backups to Miles Sanders?
Well, I just thought the usage of Boston Scott was interesting, first of all, based on the circumstances around it. One being Kenneth Gainwell has not had a very productive camp. He was injured for a little while with the hip. Didn't have great practices, as we understand, when he was out in Cleveland. I think Nick Sirianni even talked about getting on him a little bit and yelling at him. And then Boston Scott had missed more time than the others who were out with a concussion. There was Andre Dillard out with a concussion and Jordan Mailata, and so was Boston Scott, but Scott took a longer time to get back. And so it was interesting to me that Boston Scott got the first round of carries there, and you could say, well, he needed to work more because he had been out longer. But you can get a guy plenty of work coming in with the second and third team. You have a whole game to do it. The fact that he took the carries first over Kenneth Gainwell, to me, I was wondering if there was some kind of message from the coaching staff sent in there that Kenny, you're year 2 now. We understand you had a hip injury, but you haven't had a great camp. Let's get it going here. I wonder if there was a kind of a light of fire message being sent. And you can have that luxury when you have Boston Scott. I mean, you're not going to take Kennedy Brooks and give him all the first team reps in a preseason game ahead of Kenneth Gainwell. But having a guy like Boston Scott who served such an important role for this team the last 2 years gave the coaching staff the ability to do that.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I've been a fan of his because every time they call on him, somebody gets hurt and they have to go to him, he always seems to answer the bell. I mean, I don't know if they just don't feel comfortable with him. Obviously, I don't think he could be a 17-game starter, but it seems that any time that he has to fill in, especially against the Giants, he seems to answer the bell pretty well.
I still don't understand why the Giants just didn't outbid the Eagles by $1 on the contract to try to get him over there.
Just get him in here.
Even if he never played, that would be a bonus for them.
Yeah, I feel like anytime he's been given an opportunity to play, though, he has done a good job. And we'll see if they end up bringing somebody in. Like, I guess at 4:00 today, some guys got to go, which that was 10 minutes ago. I haven't seen anything with the Eagles yet, but you're going to get a bunch of guys on the street here soon. If a veteran running back, some people have mentioned Drake, he's going to get released by the Raiders. Do you think the Eagles would kick the tires, or is this enough to tell you they probably are going to stick with what they got, and if they have to, Jordan Howard's always on speed dial?
Yeah, exactly. I think the quote-unquote big running back is the guy that they would target if they were going to bring another running back in, and I don't think they need to do that now. I think that they're very comfortable with their 3 running backs.
Yeah.
You do wonder, you asked me if things stand out, will they be more of a committee? Will they try to incorporate Boston Scott more or still be kind of a 2-man running game? But that bottom line is, whatever they are, it's going to involve all 3 guys, Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott. And if there's a 4th guy, a quote-unquote big guy, he's probably going to be someone that they claim off waivers going into the year, stashed on the practice squad. I don't think he's somebody that they're going to feel compelled to go and sign right now.
Hey, offensive line, let's kind of look at that group because, you see a lot of people, the Eagles' offensive line, their second unit could start a lot of places. Dillard, obviously, is the main guy. Juergens started with the first group, but he's going to be on the second group. What did you think of some of the guys, Dillard particularly, and that second offensive line unit?
Well, it was hard not to be impressed, first of all, with Cam Juergens. I mean, I know people have seen a lot of the kind of the clips at this point, but kicking out on screens, covering linebackers on outside zones. I mean, he has really good athleticism. That was his calling card coming out of Nebraska. The only question about him was he's only played offensive line 2 years, and it's all been center. So does he have versatility, and does he have enough experience to be the center on an NFL team where you've got college offenses are basically the coach has the autonomy. In the NFL, you got to be able to call defenses, assign blocking schemes, do all that stuff. And if you've only done it for 2 years, at Nebraska, which has not really been a powerhouse lately. How are you going to do that well in the NFL? But he has been given that opportunity with Jason Kelce out, and he sure looks like he's the part. I mean, he looks like he's going to be a good player. I don't want to get too crazy with it because he's out there against second and thirds, and, I don't know how many of the starters that the Browns actually played. But the point is, for where he was expected to be, I think he's met the expectations and maybe exceeded them, and that's a great sign. And then, of course, at left tackle, I thought Dillard played well, and not just in run blocking, but pass pro. He seemed to have some pretty good reps. Again, no Myles Garrett, no Jadeveon Clowney, but, for him, you're just looking for steady improvement and progress. And I would say at this point, Mike, if they're going to get rid of Andre Dillard, it's not going to just be, it's the last year of his deal, so I'll take whatever I can get. I think that they value depth on the offensive line, especially at that position. They don't have another backup left tackle other than maybe LaRaven Clark, who's kind of fighting to make the team. And I think you'd have to blow Howie Roseman away if you want to acquire Andre Dillard in a trade.
Yeah, by the way, the Eagles have waived tackle Jared Williams, running back DeAndre Torrey, and corner Josh Blackwell. Brett Toth and Tyree Jackson have been placed on the reserve physically unable to perform list. I guess the Jackson thing is interesting. Adam brought him up yesterday because that tight end position, I guess, is still a little bit in flux, right?
Yes, and I mean, yes. Your two tight ends are going to be Dallas Goedert and Jack Stoll.
You think two make it?
Well, what I was about to say is the question is, does anybody force the Eagles to keep a third tight end? Because they don't have to. I mean, right now, the contestants for third tight end are Richard Rodgers, Noah Togiai, and there's a third guy whose name is
Garrett Calcaterra. Grant.
Yeah, Grant Calcaterra, right. So Calcaterra's got a ways to go. He's just coming back from that hamstring. He hasn't played in the preseason game yet. This will be a big week for him down in Miami. And then you know what you're getting in Richard Rodgers. He had a great camp last year, and they waived him and brought him back on the practice squad. And Togiai is probably somebody they think that this time around they can waive and put back on the practice squad. They tried to do that 2 years ago. It didn't work out. The Colts got him. But even if they lost him, you got Calcaterra, and then you have Richard Rodgers. So I personally think when you're playing roster tango here, making the decision on the 53, and you might want to keep younger players at important positions like corner, safety, linebacker, offensive and defensive line. If you want to go a little heavier there, you can skimp out a little bit on tight end and running back, knowing that you can have very many stashes on the practice squad of veterans who you can call in to play that position.
Yeah. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from InsideTheBirds.com. All right, wide receiver. What are we at now with 2 games in? Kane has certainly – I thought not only did Kane play well, he made a couple tough catches, man. I mean, he goes up over guys. He's got the size, so he's intriguing. Allen, I don't think he's got a shot, but, you send him down that's the kind of guy. You send him down the slot like that, the seam, and just, hey, go outrun somebody. And the fact that he outruns the secondary, but he makes a tough catch. I mean, he had to go out, lay out for that thing. I doubt he has a shot, though. But where do you see the wide receiver room 2 games in now?
Well, I think the first 4 are pretty solidly cemented.
Yeah.
That's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Zach Pascal. Do they keep 5? Probably. If they don't trade Jalen Reagor, it's probably going to be Jalen Reagor, at least to start the season. If they do trade Jalen Reagor, then it's between Britton Covey, who has not done much, but he is a rookie free agent that they particularly like, and he does have punt return skills, and Dion Kane. Dion Kane, you just mentioned, has had a great camp. He's caught a lot of balls. It's not like he's a rookie, undrafted rookie either. I mean, he's been in the league with the Colts. He's a former Clemson standout. But I do sense among the fan base that he is now becoming the legend, like Walt Turner and Rasheed Bailey, who actually should have made the team.
He is the Hank Basket. Hank Basket.
Yeah, Hank Basket.
Paul Turner, yep.
Yeah, I always separate Hank because, when Hank made the team, he was like one of their top 3 receivers that year. They just had a really rough receiving group, and he made some productions. But the thing is, when people are like, oh, you can't keep Reagor over Dion Kane. Yeah, you can, because you can probably put Dion Kane on your practice squad. I don't think he's going to get claimed. Everybody has a receiver at camp that's doing well. And if you keep him on your team, he's not going to play. He's not in your first 4 receivers. He only plays if you get an injury or two.
Right. He's just basically a feel-good story that you're rooting for. And if he makes a team, you're thinking, whatever happened to that guy?
Right. I mean, the bottom line is he's playing a lot. You got some major issues on your team that you're not going to care at that point because you're going to be wondering why the team's not good. But he is a good story. I think there's a shot that he does make the 53 because of his, he's got the Colts pedigree and Sirianni was there. So, there's a small chance, but I still think they want Covey to be on that 53 to return punts, to run scout team, be that slot guy, and eventually be the slot guy that maybe they can rely on down the road.
Allen got any shot? Or is he a guy that can get on the practice squad?
Probably the practice squad. I mean, if we're really being fair, and you're right that he did have to stretch out to catch that ball, but if we're really being fair, that play developed because Reed Sinnett had a lot of time to throw it. He did a really nice job. It was a one safety look, so he did a nice job of faking, just looking off the underneath route so that the safety came up. And then at that point, it's just throw the ball down the field. And, of course, Devin Allen's speed is what won that. It wasn't like he had a great release. It wasn't like he fought off press coverage. I mean, he just ran down the field and caught a ball. So I don't want to get too crazy about it, especially since it was against Cleveland's 3rd and 4th teamers as well.
Yeah. Geoff, what's up with safety? We saw Tart make some plays. He was out there a lot. You had Scott. I think, he limped off the field at one point. So let's start at safety with the amount of playing time Tart got and then where that safety kind of depth chart looks like.
Yeah, I don't – so I thought – I don't know if we talked about this last time yet. It may not have happened. But Nick Sirianni had the quote of all quotes last week when he said – somebody asked him about his safety group, and he said, he likes the group. It's led by Marcus Epps, and then we have a few other good pieces to work with. And I thought, wow, if my name's Anthony Harris right now, I'm not feeling so great about the coach saying that the safety group is led by Marcus Epps, who's never even been a full-year starter. And then I don't even get mentioned as if I'm the other starter, right? I mean, it was not like Nick Sirianni said, look, we got Epps and Harris, and then we're working on the depth there. So that continued what I had already talked to you about last week, which was saying, I think I had told you, if my name isn't Marcus Epps and I'm a safety on the Eagles, I'm wondering if I'm definitely making the team. Because right now it's that sort of a spot for them, and even Anthony Harris has not had such a great camp or even a great Eagles career to be able to say, oh, there's no doubt about it. I'm a starter. I'm making the team. I mean, right now he has to, I would think, but you just don't know what Howie Roseman's going to do at that position. Josiah Scott did get hurt. We'll have to see if he can come back soon enough. I thought it was important that Jaquiski Tartt played as much as he did, and this will be a big week for him because was slow to learn the defense, and then he was away from the team for personal reasons. It's a mess right now. I mean, I'm not trying to I'm not saying the sky is falling for the team, but the position itself does not have guys with defined roles other than really Marcus Epps.
Yeah, and then all those corners. I mean, I don't know that in your mind, the McCains and Gowan and McPherson, have any of them started to separate?
Yeah, I think Josh Jobe, for the second straight preseason game, being your, second team outside corner opposite Zach McPherson, shows that he's ahead of the group. I had been told that he'd been having a good camp. I don't know if they see him ready to actually come in and be an outside corner in an NFL game right away. But, sometimes, a couple of years ago, what was it, DeAndre Bembry and Josh Hawkins? I mean, they've had to play guys, Michael Jacquet, who weren't ready for the moment anyway. But they were I'm sure they're hoping to avoid that this year. But right now, Jobe seems to be the one standing out among the McCains and the Gowans. And, I guess Josh Blackwell just got waived, so I guess even though he looked good in the first game, maybe he'll come back on the practice squad or not. But it's not, what we got? You got Slay, you got Bradbury, you got Maddox, you got McPherson, and I would say right now Jobe is probably the leading candidate for the 5th corner spot.
All right, the roster cuts are in. Nothing crazy there. Between now and the next, when they have to make they go from 80 to 53 next, right?
Yes, the final cuts.
Right. They have to go from now 80 to 53. That'll be the next. Is there anybody that will not make this team that you will be surprised by?
Well, I mean, so let's have the disclaimer, because last year they cut their long snapper to be able to keep a guy right on the initial 53, and then the next day they put Tyree Jackson on PUP and then re-signed the long snapper.
Right. Well, who will be on the roster on opening day? That roster.
Gotcha. Anybody that won't be on the roster opening day?
You think there's a surprise cut
I
coming?
would say Harris. I think there's a chance if Howie makes a move at safety that Anthony Harris would be the guy on the way out then.
Okay. All right. Well, that would be pretty surprising, I guess. Rieger, no, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be surprised if Rieger got traded. He's not getting released.
Different than cut, right? Not getting cut.
I'd be shocked if he got cut.
Shocked. Trying to think somebody in that defensive line rotations or someone there's just not room for?
Derek Barnett would sort of be that guy you would think, but because of the contract, I just don't see it happening.
Right.
They gave him a very odd 2-year deal with enough guaranteed money in year 2 to make it that you wouldn't want to cut him right now.
I feel like there's so many defensive tackles that are all intriguing. Who was the guy? Was it Kobe
Smith?
Smith. He played with the second team. I was like, who's this guy? Where'd they get him from?
I know,
right?
I thought Marvin Wilson might have would get that spot, but I guess Kobe Smith did for the game.
Yeah, I mean, you got Milton Williams, Marlon Tuipulotu, Kobe Smith. I mean, they got a bunch of guys in that defensive, the 4th and 5th and 6th guys we're talking about.
Right. I mean, don't forget Jordan Davis and Hargrave and Fletch.
Well, I'm saying those guys, are making it, but Milton Williams is going to make it too. So that's 4.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. But some of those guys are versatile, and with the front, they're probably going to wind up keeping a total of 10 linemen.
Yeah.
Maybe not even counting the pass the Sam linebackers.
So tomorrow joint practice, right?
Yeah.
What time's that?
It'll start at 10. Well, the press conference will start at 9:30, I believe, and then the 10:15 10:15 practice start.
Okay, so we'll have all the updates from Miami with Inside the Birds here on Football at 4. Adams tomorrow, Moshe's Thursday. Andrew will be on Friday this week. So we'll have all the insight on the joint practices, and then we'll get you ready for the final game Saturday before we all get ready for the season, baby. So far, no injuries. Keep the fingers crossed. Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds.
I'm fine. I made it to Miami with no injuries. Good point.
Inside the Birds podcast, the new one just dropped yesterday, and Thursday is when you can get insight from Adam and Jeff from Miami on the Inside the Birds podcast and right here on Football at 4. Thanks, Jeff.
You got it, brother.